I'm Charlie Price, and this is the Moody Romantic. It's how to take a pompadour and wear it a few different ways. Slightly edgy, slightly androgynous, but very wearable. We blow dried the hair with a medium metal round brush just to give it a bevel and a nice little bit of medium volume and kick to the hair. The first section is a squared off horseshoe section, which starts at the recession and goes right to the curve of the head. The reason I'm squaring this off is because I want a quite wide, almost like mohawk section. This is a bit of an androgynous look, so we need those square lines. Everything isn't super round in this shape. We'll clip this out of the way because the next thing we want to do is add additional texture and finish with a large curling iron. We're just going to take large horizontal sections at the nape. And then again, clip this all out of the way. Before I curl, I'm gonna do a mini burst of medium hold aerosol spray. Don't go crazy with the spray. We don't want it crunchy. We just want something to bind the hair together and slightly polish it. All I want here is the heat of the curling iron to seal the cuticle down, give us a little more shine for a beautiful finish, so no matter what we do with the hair, it's gonna have a great foundation. I'm starting mid-shaft, and I'm just leaving the arm halfway closed and moving down the hair. To continue with this section, we've got a lot of hair right here, and as I said, we need to control it. So I'm just going to get rid of the sides. Then we'll just divide the rest of the back into two sections at the center. These are vertical subsections, and you'll notice that the curl is slightly like a ribbon. That's how I always like to look at it. And it hangs down with a bit of a ropiness at the bottom. These sections should be about 1.5 inches. The last part of our prep is to take our horseshoe section, divide it into horizontal sections within the horseshoe, and curl the hair back. And this time we are gonna try to crank some volume in at the scalp because this is the part of the hair that needs to be the tallest or the biggest. Again, we're gonna have the largest part in the front, and then it will diminish as it goes back towards the back of the head because that's what gives us the pompadour shape. For this, I'm gonna put slightly more spray than I did on the back. Straight up. I'm going all the way to the ends, and then I'm gonna add my comb at the scalp to protect her head and let that sit for probably about the count of 10. Slide that out. Before this cools down, I'm creating a pin curl, and I'm gonna let that cool. I'm going on base with this curl. It's going straight down to the scalp, and that's going to give me the right amount of volume. You'll also notice that I'm doing less curl as the hair gets shorter. It's almost ending up like what I did to the rest of the hair. It's just a bevel at the end. This piece, I'm over-directing it down, and just go right in the middle of the strand so we're not too close to her forehead, and just coax those ends back. That's all we need, just that little bend. For this section, she doesn't have tons of hair, she has fine hair. So instead of going right at the top of the ear as you normally would on the side, I'm gonna actually go behind the ear. Pull all this straight up and back into the crown. This type of work is all about a light touch. What I learned on all my years in Fashion Week is that you don't need to be aggressive and get crazy with the hair, especially in a situation like this, because you can disturb all the different things that are happening here. Using regular bobby pins, I'm gonna open the pin and slide that right in. If her hair is slick and slippery, Add one more. Again, the next side, vertical part down at the back of the ear. Before I pin it, one little blast of hairspray. I'm not going to get crazy about grooming this right now because I'm going to come back and put more product in it later. One pin up, one pin down. You can have as many pins as you want right here because this entire thing is going to cascade over it and cover it up. The key is that it needs to be secure. I choose to work with classic bobby pins. You can do this with French pins. You could even put a rubber band here if you want to. So for the back of the style, we're going to add a little bit of back combing and some volume. We want a medium amount of volume. We want an airy, editorial, sexy texture. So I'm going to divide this in probably 3 sections, maybe 2 inches thick. Gently twist this up so we don't ruin all that work we've just done. And let that hang over to one side, clipping it out of the way. Pull the hair straight out and just push softly pieces towards the scalp. We can go underneath and then on top. And then we can move down to the edge with barely anything toward the bottom. Second section. As I go up each section, I'm going to make sure that I don't get too much volume this way. I want volume down here so it's almost like more of a Christmas tree shape. What you'll notice in the fashion magazines right now is you'll see imperfection. It looks a little bit frizzy, it looks a little bit softer, it's not so controlled, it's not so forced. And that's what's gonna keep things modern. That's what editorial means. Last section. Now, this one, because I don't want this to get really big on the top, I'm going to do most of my teasing underneath until I get to the ends. And then I can go on top of the strand. There really isn't a secret to keeping these pins secure, but what I would say is keep that light touch. You're messing with this hair a lot, so try to just be gentle when you're pulling down the sections and don't hold it too taut when you're teasing it because you can disturb all this hard work you've done here. If the hair is particularly unruly, you can add more pins here horizontally, one on each side. Now, this is where we create the pompadour shape. We want to reference an old 50s barbershop. So it's important to realize that we don't want this to go back away from the forehead. We want it to come forward. So when we start our section at the front, I'm pulling this down and over directing it. And then I'm back combing it. And we can refine that more with spray as we move on. We want the most back combing at the front of the hair because this will be the highest part of the style, and then it will diminish as we move back towards the crown. One more section. By the time I get to this back section, I don't need to back comb more than probably 3 to 4 inches. And we can let that cascade over our sides. One more dose of spray. Now I'm going to put my comb down and switch to my bristle brush and start to move all this hair back away from her face. And one of my favorite tricks that I learned on runway shows is just what I call the 3 fingers. You just stick the fingers in and pull that forward, and you can help create that shape and enhance it even further, like so. I also love the way this creates 3 lines in the hair. That is editorial. That's what's gonna give you that Vanity Fair Hollywood movie effect or a French Vogue effect. If you put paste in there and you do this exact same thing to give you these almost like comb marks, that's what's going to give you the fashion magazine look. There's one more step and it's very crucial. This look is very precise right now. We need to mess it up just a little bit more and give it a more almost spontaneous look. So I'm going to take some paste Don't go crazy with the paste, we just need a little bit. Get it heated up in the hands and go back and just slightly tear this up. Don't get really crazy and completely destroy everything we've done. But just move your fingers through this so that it doesn't look too contrived, too placed, and too perfect. And scrunch, and this is one of my favorite movements because this is going to enhance all that texture we've created and give us more of the editorial feeling. This is the Moody Romantic. It's an edgy pompadour with an editorial twist. But we're not finished yet because we have a variation on this look. Now for our variation on the Moody Romantic pompadour. We can take this into 50s territory even further by adding a ponytail in the back. So as I brush some of this hair out and prepare for the ponytail, I want to talk to you about decision making as it pertains to a ponytail, because we have lots of options in this area. Ponytails actually signify the wearer's age or persona. The higher we go, the younger the look is. Medium, obviously somewhere in the middle. And a more dignified George Washington ponytail is generally going to be more serious, more businesslike, more professional, and possibly more mature or even older. This, as we said, is 50s. So I'm gonna go in the middle of the head. This is definitely a more editorial look, and we want that 50s vibe, and they weren't as slicked down as those ballerina bun ponytails are. I'm just gonna use a yellow elastic to match her hair, and I'm just gonna wind that around twice. Now you can see occasionally my bobby pins will poke out, so we don't wanna use too much tension here. And I'm just gonna wrap that around twice. That slack is actually a good thing for this look. Now, I'm gonna wind a little bit of hair around to cover the band. But before I do that, coat it with spray and get it a little bit sticky. So as we wind that around, it stays. That way we don't have to pin it to death. As we get to the end, add more spray and get that wet. If you want to, hit it with the blow dryer, a little bit crunchy, and it will stay all day, without a pin almost. I'm gonna do one pin underneath going up. Now if we leave it in this little pigtail curl, it does have that colonial George Washington look, even though we've moved higher up the head. So tease along the top of the ponytail and create this kind of wave shape. And it almost looks like a real pony's tail. Now, what you'll notice is that will collapse a little bit. So right in the center of that, we're gonna pull that up and go right in to where we wrapped around and insert a few pins. You know, the amount of pins is just gonna depend on how much hair she has. So I know that you're thinking, how does this trend turn into money in the salon? I think these days what's happening with women in their 20s and even in their teens is we're looking for ways to engage that client on styling their hair, special occasion hair, without it just being a prom or a wedding. This is a variation on the Moody Romantic Pompadour. Here we've done a riff on a 50s cool ponytail. But guess what? There's even more we can do with this style and make it work for your more sophisticated clients as well. Now we're gonna do a variation on our Moody Romantic Pompadour by taking it into a little bit more sophisticated territory. It's so simple, you're gonna love it. It takes 5 minutes to transform this look. We're gonna simply start to curve this around and check out our shape. We kind of want this to live down at the bottom of the nape. As we talked about, a lower ponytail is going to be a more sophisticated look. Before I do that though, I just want to take a little bit of that teasing out. Not all of it, just slightly comb over the surface. We don't want it glassy smooth, we want that volume that is in there to stay. So wrap that around and then start to do this with your fingers. Destroy that chignon just a little bit. All a chignon is a fancy French bun. That's all we're doing here. And we need to mess it up a little bit. All I'm doing with my fingers is making sure that I'm pinching it with medium tension so that the whole thing doesn't fall apart before I even start pinning it. Regular bobby pins, I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna do a weaving motion. This is what I call the mush-in pin. It's really a free-form method. We're just going right into the band, like a knitting needle. This is the Moody Romantic from the Alter Ego series. Here we've done 3 variations on a 1950s Pompadour. I'm Charlie Price on behalf of Milady, and this is Turning Trends into Money. I hope you enjoyed this series on dress work. One of the things that I love to do is come up with new ways to excite clients about their long hair. And one other thing, it's so important for us to go the extra mile and make our clients feel special. And if we can put trends that we see on the runways and we see on celebrities into a context that clients love, understand, and embrace, then we've really done our job. And they'll never leave us. We'll have them forever.